All right, we're back, guys, with another video on the Bathmate Hydra Pump Male Enhancement device. This is a Bathmate Hydra Max 7 that I have here, but this question and the answer I'm going to give to it actually pertain to all devices and sizes of the Bathmate. And that question is this: a lot of guys wonder, is erectile dysfunction an unwanted side effect of using a penis pump like the Bathmate? Is that something that can result from using the Bathmate? ED, erectile dysfunction. Is that something I need to worry about? So let's talk about that. My answer to you, and I've been using this thing now for 4 years, is do not worry about it. Okay? Do not worry about it, because you should be using this thing as instructed anyway. You should be using it the way Bathmate tells you to use it, the way I tell you to use it. And as long as you're doing that, as long as you're not misusing this, okay, you should not run into any ED or erectile dysfunction problems. With that said, if you are misusing it, and the two most common ways guys do that is by doing it more than once a day, more than once in a 24-hour time period, and going too long, okay, more than 20 minutes. If you're doing one or both of those things, then don't be surprised if you start to run into issues like erectile dysfunction, okay? Because that's not how you're supposed to use this thing. Bathmate, it very clearly instructs, wear this 10, 12, 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes max. Do not go over 20 minutes, all right? And do not wear it more than once in a 24-hour time period, because you need recovery time, which I've talked about in one of my, in some of my other videos. You need to give yourself time to recover after you use it, which is why you want at least 24 hours to go by. And if you're not giving yourself that, then something like ED could occur. All right, so that's what you have to realize. So for that reason, hopefully you're smart enough, if you're watching this, okay, if you have one of these or you're thinking of ordering one, hopefully you're smart enough to not use something like this not as directed. Hopefully you're wise enough to use it the way they tell you to use it. Bathmate actually even goes so far as to say it can actually improve your ED. Okay, what's my thought on that? Well, male enhancement methods in general, so not just the Bathmate, but things like manual exercises, phallosan forte, among others, for the most part, yes, they will decrease the likelihood that you're going to experience erectile dysfunction, okay? Because it's all about blood flow, and all of these things increase blood flow to your dick, all right? And with more blood flow going there, the less likely you are to experience something like ED. This is more true, this is more so the case if you're new to male enhancement. If this is something you either haven't used or you haven't been using for very long, maybe a month or two, a couple weeks, then you're even less likely to run into any erectile dysfunction issues, okay? I mean, you really don't have to worry about it at that point. But, after you've been using it for a while, you gotta pay closer attention. You gotta make sure you know how long you're wearing this thing every morning or every day, and that you're not doing it more than once in a 24-hour period. Now, if erectile dysfunction is something you suffer from, I recommend you do Kegels. Kegels will go a long way towards helping you with ED. Those don't cost you a thing. They're completely free. You can do them all day. And I've even heard they work better than manual exercises. So Kegels will do a lot to help with your erectile dysfunction problem. Okay, now I don't have erectile dysfunction. I never have had erectile dysfunction. So I don't have a whole lot of experience with Kegels, but if you do your research on it, you'll find that, you know, that's one of the main benefits, if not the main benefit, to doing Kegels. So that's something you suffer from, look into that. Okay, there's a ton of information on Kegels online. As far as why you're getting erectile dysfunction in the first place, there's two big reasons. The first one is lower testosterone levels. You could be suffering from low testosterone, all right, which is getting more and more common, unfortunately. So if that's the case, you'll know if you're not getting morning wood like you used to, or if you're running into ED problems even when you're by yourself, not even, you know, not having a partner there, but even when you're by yourself, then you'll know it's testosterone related. Of course, there's other side effects to having low testosterone, like fatigue. There's all sorts of them, okay? So make sure you're getting your testosterone levels checked. Make sure you're in a healthy range. If you need to go on testosterone replacement therapy, that's always a great idea. And I mean, you're gonna, you know, probably want to go on it at some point anyway, right? So that's one cause of erectile dysfunction, and the other big one is there's psychological reasons, all right? Which for the most part, when it comes to ED, is sexual anxiety, essentially. So you know you have sexual anxiety resulting from psychological causes when you're with a girl, and that's when the erectile dysfunction issues show up. But when you're by yourself, you have no issues. So when you're by yourself and you have no issues, but then all of a sudden you're with a girl and the ED problems show up, that's how you know it's psychologically related, okay? It's sexual anxiety at that point, and that's how you tell. And like I said, with the lower testosterone levels, it happens even when you're by yourself, right? So those are the two things that cause ED. I'd look into those if that's something you're running into, and then Kegels, like I mentioned, is a good way to combat that. But as far as the Bathmate, it is not going to cause ED if you're using it properly, okay? Plain and simple. If you're using the device like you're supposed to, it's not going to cause an issue. Now, one thing guys have reported that they run into, okay, that could potentially be an exception to this, is sometimes when they take this thing off after they use it, the loss of sensitivity, the numbness, the loss of sensitivity can cause them to not feel sex with a woman if they have sex right after they use it. So, you know, like I said, the numbness, which can definitely be something that happens right after you use this thing. Loss of sensitivity. That, you know, in an indirect way, you could say is causing performance problems. I don't know if I'd call it erectile dysfunction, but you know, you're not able to perform, and the reason you're not able to perform is because of the loss of sensitivity, and the reason there's a loss of sensitivity is because you just used this. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Hopefully you don't experience that. If you do, there's two obvious things you can do. Don't use it. Don't use this thing right before you have sex, which is unfortunate because that's one of the best things about this thing, is being able to have sex right after you use it. But you know, if you can't perform, then obviously it's not worth it, right? So don't use this right before sex if that's something you're running into, and maybe shorten the amount of time you're using it as well. So if you're using this for 15 minutes, maybe cut that down to 5 or 6. Okay, cut it down to 5 or 6. So those are a couple ways you can combat the loss of sensitivity issue. But not a lot of guys run into that. I haven't had that problem. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, guys. It's not something I'd worry about. Just make sure you're using the device as instructed, okay? As I tell you to do it, as Bathmate tells you to use it. If you have any more questions on this thing or anything I just mentioned, leave those down in the comments below. Hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video with another answer to a frequently asked question.